So I recently made a video on how not to suck at Darktide, and it's doing fine, that's all well and good, but it was operating off of the premise that you already knew what you were doing a little bit. Today's video is for those of you that will be lost like a midget in a cornfield alongside Darktide's release on the PS5. We're just talking basic mechanics, from fighting to equipment customization, because I know after the third text box, we all just go ahead and skip those ungodly boring tutorials. Plus, there are better ways and more variation in how you may conduct yourself that you won't even be made aware of if you go the normal route. So this is going to be more helpful to you anyway. I think I'll probably organize it with mechanics on the front half and equipment on the back end, but as usual, Darktide regulars, feel free to leave your 2 cents on advice, but please, keep it brief. Save the screenplays for Reddit, because people don't have that kind of attention span here. I've already changed my mind. We will be doing the equipment talks first. You're going to begin by picking up whatever class you feel sounds good. If it sounds good, then it is good. Don't worry about it. You can make any class worth your while. Don't dwell on the process too much. Just grab whatever catches your eye the most. From there, you begin customization. Once again, do what you want. Don't worry too much, because you'll have a chance to edit them later if you really feel as if you've made a detestable monstrosity that you need to change. After that, you're going to talk to some dipshits, mostly bureaucrats, so I repeat myself, knock out basic missions and begin the leveling process. From levels about 1 to 5, maybe 10 if you're a slow learner, you're gonna feel kinda flimsy. But that's to be expected. You're accumulating resources, unlocking your abilities, learning how to play in general, really. You're just getting your feet under you, so don't worry about that, it passes. Eventually, all of the shops will open for you as you level up, and you've got some dosh to begin building. 2 things before I move on. Well, more like 3 or 4, but whatever. Currency is in a bank accessible to all of your characters. If you're rich in one, you are rich with all of them. Your equipment levels will also come along for the ride across characters as well. However, the equipment itself will not. So let's say you've got a level 7 shotgun on your Psyker and all of its blessings that will come in tow. Well, you won't get to copy whatever gold shotgun you currently have all the way over to your Zealot, but you will get that leveled up shotgun blueprint, so to speak. That'll make sense later. When you start building a class for the first time, it's honestly a lot of guesswork, but here's how you invest semi-intelligently. Go to the armory, that's this place on the battle barge. Once you're in, select Brunt's Armory, and it will show you all the available weapons to your character, both their melee and ranged rosters. Make a mental bookmark of all the weapons you think are cool, and buy a basic one from here once you unlock them. You'll optimize this in a minute, but just hold on. Once you have your basic versions, exit and go into the Psychanium. It's the big-ass doorway to your left. Once you're in there, you are going to select Meat Grinder, the difficulty you want to play on, and test out the feel of these weapons on some vestigial enemies. There is a slight bit of variation in how these weapons can perform later on, given some have different marks or variants that are unlocked with experience. However, this is a pretty good baseline as to whether or not you would actually enjoy a weapon. You're going to do this until you find a weapon that you actually enjoy, and then the optimization may begin. Kinda. Go view the weapon in your inventory and hit the Inspect tab. Don't give a shit about any of the stuff on top. You've already felt out the weapon, you know how it feels, you know how it plays. Just hover over these statistic bars and determine what you value the most, and more specifically, what you value the least. You may have noticed at this point that some are moderately lower than others at their maximum. Here's the deal. All of these bars cap out at 80, but there are 20 points that the game has to take away from somewhere on the statistics for them. So your options are either going to be shooting for an even split, or grabbing one statistic by the hair and throwing it out of a moving vehicle like a cheerleader's unwanted baby. Once you've made your decision, what's the next move, you ask? Well, maybe you think we can start filling out the empty portions of these bars or reallocate points. If so, stop thinking. Just shut your goddamn mouth and keep listening. Don't get ahead of me. We're not there yet. We need to gamble first, Jesse. Go back to the armory and start pulling on that one-armed bandit until you get a weapon whose maximum statistics you actually give a fuck about. And keep in mind, this is the weapon that you're going to use long-term, or at least for the time being, so don't skimp out on it. Spend some real gold here. Don't just throw your hands up and accept some substandard piece of garbage that isn't gonna amount to anything. After all, the last thing you want to do is look at your weaponry the same way your dad probably looks at you. Fortunately, nobody's going to complain if you keep on making new ones and just throw the shitty ones out of the way. However, unfortunately for your father, he seems to be in the opposite predicament. Well, anyway, once you've finally got the weapon and statistics that you want, you may begin the upgrading process. Now you're going to go ahead, you're going to turn your ass right on around and visit the Shrine. This is where you upgrade your weaponry. Hit Entreat Hadron and then you will be presented with options. Consecration will increase your weapon's rarity and give you extra perks and blessing slots. More on blessings later. Under that you will have Empowerment. This will boost the statistical aspect of your weapon up to a score of 500 in increments of 10. Eventually, all of your statistic bars will be full. Just hit the upgrade button. You do not need to worry about allocation. You can't even do it. Oh, and curios are easy. You buy them from the main section of the armory or get them as rewards. The blessings don't change on those, but perks can be changed as you upgrade. Never get toughness regeneration speed. That's about all you need to know there. If you don't know what blessings are, this applies to weapons blessings. It's pretty much just weapon skills claimed with points that you receive by playing with the weapon. You can view them on the Weapon Mastery tab in your operator menu when you hit pause. The only thing left now is assembling your actual class and perks now that we've got our shit together. You have two lanes. You can be a generalist or a specialist. Generalists will aim to cover all bases. This is typically best in solo play. Here's an example. If you've got a heavy-handed crowd-controlling melee weapon, but it's weak on armor, then you're gonna want an armor-breaking primary to fill that weakness. You're only gonna want to be a specialist if you've got a team to work with you. For example, you can say fuck off with any of the marksmanship or armor-fighting tools and go pure suppressive crowd control if you want. I'm actually enjoying this quite a bit as a psyker lately, but it makes you reliant on others to handle threats because you're just a glorified pair of handcuffs while they carry out police brutality. Although you're the peak of lockdown, you fucking suck at targeted harassment. Are you kind of seeing the detractions? One can do it all, other ones do it incredibly well, but in one specific avenue. As for perks, do whatever the hell you want, but remember these terms. Blitzes are these green fucks, which act as tactical equipment. Auras are these yellow fucks and apply to everyone you're near. Abilities are these red fucks, which operate on a cooldown. Keystones are these purple fucks that provide buffs as long as you fulfill their requirements. I didn't give specific builds because I want you to find your own way, not just copy-paste someone else's. By the way, you can see all of your active perks in-game on the bottom of your screen. Oh shit, penances. These are pretty easy to understand too. They're going to be your main way of gaining cosmetics from achievements. Hit pause while you're in the main lobby, find penances, and then take a look over this whole menu if you really need to know what specific ones are. Now we're on to the actual gameplay portion, but remember, these are just your basics to keep you from getting beheaded. It's not super in-depth. Reloading happens in stages. You can't sprint while you do it, but you can dash. When pressured, most people like to dash for the first segment, swap back to melee, get a few kills, and then repeat for any following segments to reload their gun. Melee is gonna be a bit of a toss-up. Personally, I feel like I fare better with constant dodging. Other people love block pushing. Sometimes you can get away with pure crowd suppression like a hammer, but it's not often, so it's good to get in the habit of doing one or the other in terms of dashing or block pushing. You can jump and you can mantle, but they are not worth a fuck, so just keep that in mind. I would advise using several characters, but have a main one so that you can focus on that and get them pretty beefed up. That way, if you're ever short on cash, you can play the high levels with your good unit and spend what you gained on the trash unit. Oh, and if you don't know a particular input, Please, for the love of fuck, check your goddamn keybinds or controller mapping in the options portion instead of getting into the moment and freaking the hell out. I think the only things left now are explaining corruption and cohesion. Cohesion just means stay around your team. It's about that simple. And corruption is that purple shit that eats up your health bar. It builds with a lot of things, but it can be cleansed with med stims and Medicae stations. You'll usually find a Medicae station every time you enter a new area. They typically have 4 uses indicated by the red and blue lights on the bottom. Occasionally they won't be turned on. In that case, go look for a fat-ass D-cell battery nearby to charge them. Back to corruption. You don't need to worry too much about corruption until it eats into your wounds. A wound is represented by those giant-ass chunks on your health bar. They may be increased with curio blessings or certain perks. When you go down, it will fill a wound with corruption. If all of your wound slots are filled with corruption and you go down, you die and respawn tied up next to an altar. Since I mentioned stims, might as well go through them all. Red means damage boost, blue means speed boost, yellow means ability cooldown boost, green means health boost and wound clear. Only use green when clearing a wound or last man standing. And with that, I think I'm out of things to prevent you from tripping over your own feet. Best of luck out there, and here's some general advice to see you out. Pay attention to your surroundings, communicate with your team, play around the objective, don't be a dickhead. Use common sense, practice often, join the Discord in the description for teammates, and have a good one.